Hey everyone, it's Jenny from the design team, and today I'm going to be sharing a card that I made using watercolors and one of my favourite go-to embossing powders, metallic brass. I'm featuring the beautiful stamp by Wow, which I have got out a lot of times this month. It's so versatile, and today I'm going to show you a slightly different way to use it. So this is the stamp set. You'll see it's got one large main image and then a bunch of little flowers and leaves. This is the embossing powder. It's something I reach for when we use gold and silver a lot, and brass is just a little bit different, and you can see from the top what it looks like there. It's like a really nice warm gold colour. I'm using hot press watercolor cardstock. It's extra white. I just like the brighter cardstock. It's £140. And then I'm going to be watercoloring with these Daniel Smith dot cards. It's basically over 200 of their colours, just in a very tiny amount, so you can test them out and see which ones you like the best to buy them. And I've still not really used up much of it, so I thought it'd be a good opportunity to try it out. Now, a little tip I have for you, particularly with busy stamps, large images like this one where you can't always necessarily tell exactly where it's going to fall on your cardstock. I like to use the printed acetate that comes in the set and just lay it over my cardstock, line up my stamp, and then pick it up with my MISTI so I know exactly where it's going to stamp. It's a quick way to make sure that you get the stamp exactly where you want it to be. I'm then using my powder tool to remove any static cling, and I'm inking up the stamp with the Wow Embossing ink. I'll only show you one stamping here, but because this is watercolor cardstock, I do stamp it twice just to make sure I get a good impression. It's hot press, so it's really smooth. It's much easier to do heat embossing, get a really good clean image on hot press rather than cold press. And I've embossed it with the metallic brass, and then I've sped up the heating using my dual heat gun, and you can see that close up. This is such a really nice kind of browny, warm, goldy colour, and it's a little bit different to normal bright gold. I'm now going to create a scene using these smaller florals, and because this is kind of a whimsical, kind of slightly sketchy feel look to these stamps, I'm going to be quite loose with where I stamp them. So I am applying my powder tool in between the stamping each time, then adding the embossing powder and heating it in between. I'll then move it on my MISTI and re-stamp. And I won't show you the whole thing. You can remove any stray flecks with an old paintbrush. And then I'll add a few more pieces in, and then I stamp that leaf stamp a few times as well. And I'm going for a kind of diagonal look across the panel of watercolor cardstock, which is cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm then adding some more embossing powder, just loosely sprinkled, almost like when you spatter paint, just in some of the gaps here. There is no embossing ink here, I'm just sprinkling it on, and then I'm going to heat it up from behind, and that will melt the embossing powder, so it will go nice and shiny, but it won't blow off. And I'm going to be adding paint splatters to this at the end, and I thought that would go really well and coordinate nicely. I'm now going to show you a little bit in real time how I painted this image, and the rest of it is sped up. I'm just going to talk you through it. I'm using clean clear water on I think it's size 6 or size 8 brush, and I am painting all over the main floral image, just the main floral first off, with the clean clear water. I'm then going to go and pick up some of the paint from my Daniel Smith dot card with my damp paintbrush, and I do wipe it off camera on a paper towel if I feel I've got too much water on here. And pick up some of the purple and then drop it in. I'm just trying to lay down a kind of relatively pale base colour of the Daniel Smith paint. I'm then going to come in with a darker purple and loosely add it into some of the areas where the embossing lines meet, almost like a shadow. I'm not being particularly prescriptive. This is quite loose watercolouring, but you can see on this is really good quality watercolour cardstock where the two colours, the two purples blend together. You get a really nice effect. I'm just speeding it up here and going back in with that same dark purple and just adding another layer, because as it dries it kind of goes a little bit paler, it dries back, so I just wanted to deepen up those purples. Now I'm going in for the leaves, and first off I'm using a slightly kind of darker green, then I'm going in with a nice bright olive green and letting them blend together on the cardstock itself. If I get any really harsh lines that I don't want, I just go back in with a slightly damp brush and blend it out. And then on these smaller flowers I'm using 2 different shades of blue, and I do go back in there a little bit of purple as well. Now these are some of the more special kind of Daniel Smith paints. These are the duochromes, interference, and they add a little bit of shimmer. It's really hard to see on camera, but I've gone in with the pearlescent shimmer and the one of the duochromes in a purple colour, just to add a little bit of sparkle. You can see it in real life. And then I added some splatters, as I mentioned at the beginning. You can see it kind of nestles in nicely with that sprinkled on brass embossing powder and gives a bit of interest and texture to the card. I'm going to mount the panel with some strong adhesive onto a white note card. And then for my sentiment, there's lots to choose from in this stamp set, some big bold ones and some small strip versions. And I'm using this really simple with sympathy that I'm stamping directly onto a strip of pale grey cardstock. And then I've trimmed it out, popped it up on foam tape and added it straight to the front of the card. I added a few coordinating sequins to finish. And that finishes up my card. Be sure to check out all our other tutorials over on the WOW channel. We've got loads for you to watch, and have an awesome day. Bye.